Hi, this is Mark. Welcome back to my channel, What Burns My Ass. This is the channel where I tell you things that burn my ass, and you tell me whether or not they burn your ass too. So this is the latest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. And his guests are Michael Douglas, the actor, and he also has a chief political columnist for Puck International Affairs, and he's also an analyst for NBC and MSNBC. His name is John Heilman. And then he also has another female guest. Her name is Sarah Isgur, and she works for the Dispatch. And they, of course, they're on here to give their commentary about what happened during this last election. And this John Heilman, as soon as he started talking, I was like, "Yep, now I know why MSNBC and NBC use this guy, because the propaganda that flows out of his mouth is astonishing." And again, the shocking part is Bill Maher sticking up for it. And you're going to see that during this video. So let's get it started, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
You played the American president. If you were the American president, what would you tell people today about our country and where we are?
Wow. Well, I mean, it's the economy. I mean, it really comes down. We lost our middle class. We don't have a.
That's what your documentary's about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
I mean, we don't. I mean, and it's a global situation.
Yeah.
It's in Germany and Japan. Everybody from after the COVID and all of that, the inflation that rose around the world, and we seemed a lot of democracies turned towards autocracies. But still doesn't justify how wrong they got it. I mean, in terms of all the polls. But I think we desperately need to support our middle class much longer. And also, in 40 years, the stock market has increased, I think, 5,000%, and real earning wages have increased 14%. So 50% of the country owns stocks. And then you've heard they're not complaining much right now, but those people who are going, week to week with the inflation, it's killing them. And I think we really underestimated it. And the very fact now that we can talk about Republicans as being the people, the party for the people, and that we are this elitist party on the left, Democrats, is wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And yet there is truth into it. I mean, I understand why people are there.
So here you go. It's obvious. I still think Michael Douglas is a Democrat, but he gets it. He has compassion for people that don't have millions of dollars like he does, which I think is great. And the fact that Bill Maher confirmed, his belief is also good. So I was actually proud of both of them in this, and it just makes me like Michael Douglas even better as an actor. And because the stage is for some nowadays for some actors to get to voice their political views, but he took the risk, and you know what? No matter what, if he's on the other side or if he's a Democrat, see, that doesn't bother me because I'm registered as an independent anyways. But I vote for the candidate and the people that are going to do the right things for this country. That is why I stood behind picking Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. But anyways, so we're going to move on to the next group of guests, the round table, and the chief political columnist for Puck International, the analyst from NBC and MSNBC is John Heilman. And you're going to see that he just is a complete jerk. And it just makes sense why he works on those channels. And then this other one is this woman who works for this organization called the Dispatch. Her name is Sarah Isgur. She seems like a very nice lady. She's very liberal, but she's not ridiculously liberal. And she seems to have a lot of common sense about what happened in this country during this election. So I like her too. But anyways, it's going to be interesting. And I'm just shocked how intelligently Bill Maher said he wasn't going to put up with the BS that this John Heilman was trying to put out on the show. So you'll see what I mean.
Additionally, to your point, Bill, I take a lot of shit about this from people when I come out and say it, but I was glad to see Donald Trump win the popular vote. I mean, I think it was not my preference that he be president going forward. But if he's going to be president going forward, Not having it be that he got in through the loophole of the Electoral College, where he gets 46% and still is our president. And by the way, let's just one shout for a democracy that we might want to move toward one day, where every election, the person who wins the most votes gets to be president. Yeah. No matter who gets in through the Electoral College loophole, no matter who gets in with 46, 47, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, it's a bullshit system. If you get the most votes, you should be president, right? He got the most votes. He gets to be president. And to everybody who worried that he was a fascist, who heard John Kelly call him a fascist and say that he admired Adolf Hitler, and heard him say that he was going to use the military against his political opponents, and fantasized about seeing Liz Cheney shot in the face, and fantasized about the press getting also shot in the face.
Okay, some of that's bullshit, and I'm not going to go there.
But he said all those things.
What do you think, Sarah?
But wait, to your point, though, Bill, wait, here's my point. He said all those things. You're right. We'll see what he does. But he said them all. He said them all in the heat of the campaign. We'll see what now happens. But the great thing about him winning the popular vote majority is that everybody who was worried about all that now knows that they are in the minority.
So here you go again. This guy is delusional, okay? He's repeating propaganda lies of things that Donald Trump did not say. And he's spewing it out like it's definitely true. He was heard saying these things. And I couldn't believe that Bill Maher just said he's not going to do that anymore. He's not going to repeat these ridiculous things because he knows Liz Cheney. He did not say if you watch my last episode, see, that's why it's important for you to go back and watch my other videos, because this is like, if you miss an episode of Stranger Things, one leads into the other. My channel's kind of like the same way. But anyways, John Heilman, he's just absolutely delusional. And then he repeats this propaganda stuff. I mean, I almost agree with him a little bit about the Electoral College, but I think that needs to be researched if that's going to be beneficial or not. So, anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that. But let's go ahead with the rest of this. Sarah Isgur is going to be up next, and I really like her, and you're going to see why.
Election was, the first question you should ever ask is, did Trump win or did Harris lose? And those are not necessarily the same thing. We saw the party in power in every Western democracy so far lose support. And look, as a
like
former,
in the last year, you mean?
Yeah, and as a former operative, if you want to know if your campaign strategy worked, your campaign strategy was to pick up this group and this group. So you want to see rises with them, but then you shouldn't see a rise in groups that you weren't aiming for. Donald Trump increased his vote with everyone, which means It wasn't his campaign strategy. I think it was that the American people they voted for Joe Biden because they were promised normalcy and competency, and they didn't get either. And the most effective ad that Donald Trump ran was the they-them ad. He's for you, she's for they-them. Democrats thought that was an ad about, transphobia. They missed the point entirely. It was an ad about language, that these people are more obsessed with whether you have a signature block in your email with your pronouns in it than they are about getting the economy back on track.
So there you go. She seems to get it. She caught what happened, what went down there during this election, why a lot of people voted the way they did. This was a referendum on all this woke crap that nobody wants to deal with anymore. And that's obvious, except for two people like this John Heilman. And it's amazing. And if you listen to Bill Maher reiterates what she says. So they're kind of on the same sheet of music. It still baffles me when Bill Maher derails, and you'll see that as well. But anyways, I kind of like her.
It's bullshit that he wanted Liz Cheney shot in the face, and it's bullshit that they didn't get the economy. Let's call bullshit wherever it is tonight, shall we?
Wow.
The economy, what is an indictment...
I'm proud, Bill Maher.
I think is a tremendous indictment of Kamala Harris is that she couldn't win an election with the stock market at record highs and unemployment at record lows. You give me that hand, you should be able to win an election.
So, see... That's where he doesn't get it. And now Sarah Isgur is going to shove it in his face. She's going to put him in his place because she's going to bring up a very valid point. And then when he does, he gets pissed. And he gets rude because she basically tore down his defense. I mean, he had no defense to what she said after what she said. And So he had no explanation, so he gets mad and he lashes out at her. Watch, you'll see what I mean.
She couldn't win the election because Joe Biden refused to actually be the bridge to another generation that he promised to be. And I know that you're looking at inflation numbers and saying the rate of inflation has gone down. Bacon is still twice as much as it was. Inflation happened and it's not going away.
Shut up about bacon.
You talked about bacon first.
See what I mean? He didn't like that at all. But she's right. And he still is in denial over that. He thinks the economy is great. Well, when you're a multimillionaire like Bill Maher, I mean, your bank account has 6 and 7 and 8 numbers. I mean, come on. It's easy to feel like the economy isn't that bad. But here's the thing. He agreed with Michael Douglas, but then turns around and talks like this. So in a way, he's kind of contradicting himself about his beliefs, if you ask me. And one half, he gets it, and then the next minute, he doesn't. So it's just amazing. But this was still an all a good show, and we'll see what else goes on here.
There's presidential candidates talking about people getting shot in a.
Of course,
he called for a military tribunal against her.
Again,
he might not do it, but you don't want to normalize the notion that that's the kind of language. That's the kind of language that we want to have.
No, but that wasn't. But this is the problem with. I'm sorry, the far left, is that.
I'm not on the far left, but I don't think we should have presidential.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Into Trump derangement syndrome. It's not deranged to be upset and worried.
Bill Maher,
he could be a fascist. He wants to be. But if you're going to think I'm going to chase every rabbit down the hole for the next 4 years, you're wrong.
Wow. So he gets it and he doesn't get it. And that John Heilman, oh my God, it's obvious that the propaganda that he spewed, all those viewers of MSNBC and NBC and the other major networks, this is the crap they bought into. Because guys like this are the producers for those shows. And yet, a lot of people caught on to it. But I actually think it was the informed voters that flipped this vote, especially the independent informed voters, because we're just tired of it, just like Bill Maher. Bill Maher said he's not going to do this anymore, and nobody wants us to go on anymore. If you're going to make commentary on political election or anything political or a politician or what's going on or laws in Congress, for the most part, unless it's a political commentary show, you should just report what the bill's about and who's fighting for it and who's fighting against it, and that's it. You should keep your opinions out of it unless it's a political commentary show. And I don't understand how all these other shows call themselves news shows, but really they're just shills for the Democrat Party, and they have been. And people are catching on. That's why those channels are all losing viewers. And I forgot what this last name, Parker, this one guy, he was all upset and asking for help. I should have looked up his number before I did this video, his name, about losing tens of thousands of subscribers on his YouTube channel right after the election. Well, that's because he spent the last 3 or 4 years feeding them the lies like the channels do, and like a lot of these other pundits do. They just keep feeding lies, and people caught on to it. And now we're just like, so instead of going to the networks, we're going on to shows like mine, I'd like to think, and also shows like Bill O'Reilly and Pierce Morgan and Megyn Kelly, who is huge now, and also people like Joe Rogan, which Joe Rogan to me still comes across as pretty independent, but he's common sense, and Joe Rogan got onto the common sense, so he stuck himself on the Donald Trump wagon, and I think if most people use common sense towards the political debates that we have nowadays, I think more and more people would switch to the Republican side or maybe to the independent side if they don't necessarily agree with everything the Republicans do. But I still think both parties have a lot of corruption going on, especially when it comes to the stock market. And I'm glad to see some Republican senators and some and representatives trying to pass a bill saying that people in Congress should not be able to trade stock during their tenure. But anyways, let's watch the rest of this video, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
No, I'm just telling you, I did this once, I'm not going to do it again. That's who he is.
Okay.
If he talks about Arnold Palmer's dick, or he makes or he says a bad word, or says something that everybody thinks like there are shithole countries, I'm not going to lose my shit about it. I'm just not, because that is deranged. That's who he is.
Sure. Not asking you to do that, but as you just said, you're worried about whether he's actually a fascist, and you're worried about, I think worried about, those are illustrations of the deeper thing.
So he's still trying to push the fact that Donald Trump is a fascist. He's still, talking these biased talking points, and he still doesn't get it. And if the Democrat Party doesn't flip like Bill Maher and start talking common sense, they're going to lose the next election as well. But I'm also going to do a video where there's a way that the Republican Party has a chance. My next video is going to be how the Republican Party could lose this next election if they don't do very specific things. And so I want you to look forward to my next video. And I'm gonna give my good commentary on how or what I think Donald Trump should do over the next 4 years. Not that I'm, the chief economist or I have a Harvard degree in economics but I've been on this world for over 50 years, and I've watched our economy, and I have a pretty good grasp on it. And I did take economics in college, so but anyways, watch out for that video. And that's the end of this video. That's the end of this video for now. And I want you I just want you to remember one thing. What burns my ass probably burns your ass too. And please remember to like and subscribe. Have a good one.